Hey, howdy, hey, people. How's it going? My name's T.S. and I write comics like Hellion and Bash and Growing Up and Tokyo Fire and a million other little indie books. I'm trying to get a pile of them over here I can show off here in a second. Oh, alright. We got Hellion and Bash. That's the most recent one. Growing Up was my first comic, and my first successful one was Tokyo Fire. Hellion and Bash Issue 2 is live on Kickstarter right now. You can follow the link in my bio if you want to check that out. If you like superhero books like Invincible and other things like that, you're going to love Hellion and Bash. Who protects the sidekick from the superhero? When none of the superheroes step up to save this kid, well, the supervillain community has to do it. So if you like anything that I said, go check that out. But I'm also here answering questions about other comic books, about writing comics, about publishing comic books, anything that you want to know. And also because I love hanging out with you guys, and I always have a good time on here. And yeah, so obviously I come on here to show my comics, but I also like hanging out. So if you have questions about writing comic books or making comic books, please feel free to ask. How's everyone doing today? I'm still a little bit on the recovery side of getting sick and stuff, so I'm trying to get back into streaming regularly and catching up on all the stuff that I missed out on. I had a lot of consultation work today. I had to read like a bunch of scripts that people had sent me while I was sick, and I promise I wasn't ignoring you. And I was just working through the slush pile. And you know, I'm always down to talk more about comics too. If you have a book that you want to send, or you have questions about, or you just want, another pair of eyes, always feel free to hit me up. Anthony, how's it going, dude? I'm glad you joined. Anthony, I know you got a book. Please plug it in the chat, and I will do my best to relay it, or we can get you on here in some way. I'm on Discord. I know that I have you on Facebook. If we can work something out, we can get you on here and talking about your stuff too. I have like 14 different chats because I'm trying to restream this everywhere. So if you see me talking to a chat that you're not seeing, that's why. I promise I'm not crazy. Well, not because of that, at least. Let's do a live check-in too with my Kickstarter here. I can scroll that over. All right, what are we sitting at? We're sitting at 34 backers with $1,121 pledged out of a $3,000 goal with 28 days to go. Man, that's a good number to see for my anxiety. We're already a third of the way funded. Oh, it feels good. And I know that it helps my publishers sleep a little bit easy because, they took a big chance on me funding issue 2. That's the thing, everybody wants to get through the gatekeepers, but the gatekeepers got to get their money back. And that's what they're waiting for. They're waiting to see that it's going to be worth it for them. You want the link to the Kickstarter or to free digital copies? Both, Anthony. Please hook me up, and I will make sure to share them out. I want to check it out myself as well. So I would love to check it out, and I would love to give you a little treat. I'd love for you to be able to check out Hellion and Bash Issue #1. And that goes for all the other creators in the industry. If you ever have questions, if you want to see what I do, I have lots of copies of comic books I'd love to share. I have scripts. I do all of that stuff. And if you're a person in the community who wants to learn how to write comic books, but you're a little afraid on just asking questions here, you can always back any of my projects. I sell and give away a lot of the scripts for all of my books. So every time I write a new issue, I make a really easy, readable version of the script so people can pick them up and see what it looks like to write a comic book script. So you can learn, follow along. And I will say, though, I've had a few people kind of look at my scripts as gospel or vice versa, as like the opposite. And everybody writes their comic book script different. There's no one single way to write it. In fact, all of my scripts I write differently for each artist I work with. So there's not one standard way, unlike movie scripts, right? So I've had some complaints going, well, you write it differently than this person. And yes, I most definitely do. I learned how to write scripts from reading a lot of stuff like from Matt Fraction and Kelly Zudiconic and a lot of writers from that era of comic books. So that's why my comic book scripts look the way that they do. But there's always something to be learned by looking at other people's scripts. Trying to scroll through all the different comments here. Comic Talk, how's it going, dude? Unreal Existence, how you doing, man? Hope everyone's doing okay. I'm still on the mend. I'm trying to recover from being sick for a few days. There's a little bit of fake it until you make it energy that I'm trying to put out there. I probably should be sleeping, but I gotta make sure I'm plugging that Kickstarter. I gotta make sure I'm writing. I've been working on the next issue of Tokyo Fire, which has been really fun. Part of the deal that I signed with Professional Entropy was to make Hellion and Bash Issue 2 and so on. But also, they also signed Tokyo Fire. That was part of the licensing agreement. So we're getting the full run of Tokyo Fire, 7 issues at least. And that means we got to get those issues going. And I was just talking to Sky Hawkins about this the other day. She did an amazing piece of fan art for Hellion and Bash. Let me see if I can get that up. It was on Instagram. One of my favorite things that have come out of this of people making like fan art of it, which is just not something I ever expected to happen, and I don't take for granted. And I save every piece of it because it's so cool. Oh, this is so awesome. Let me see if I can bring this up here. There we go. This is a piece of artwork by Sky Hawkins, my co-creator on Tokyo Fire. She's one of the coolest in the industry. Go hire her for stuff, but also check out her comic book Exhaust. It's freaking amazing. One of my favorite webtoons ever, and it's available anywhere you get web comics, but it's really, really good. That's how we started working together, was I found her artwork, and she agreed to co-create Tokyo Fire with me, and she did this piece as a little homage for Hellion and Bash, issue number 2, and man, does it look cool. Alright, let's see how I can switch back over. Still learning how to do a lot of this stuff. I might bring on a few creators that I know from a few different creator groups who have live Kickstarters as well. If anyone's interested in checking out some other people's stuff, you just let me know. How's everyone doing today? I'm sorry if you were on the TikTok. I lost that screen for a second. We got there. What's going on, Comic Talk? Appreciate you. David, hello, T.S. Keep the indie comics magic coming. Hey, man, I really appreciate that. Thank you so much. And I will. I'm going to try at least. I guess technically not indie for Hellion and Bash since we have a publisher, but it's still so small. And it's like, it's partly my company. Part of the trade was I traded them some of the rights for Hellion and Bash and Tokyo Fire to have their help getting the publishing deal and, you know, getting the printing done. They helped fund the artwork for Hellion and Bash number 2 and so on. So as indie as we can get still. But it's been really cool kind of working my way up the rungs, right? Like I started self-publishing stuff with Growing Up. This was my first book, is I did Growing Up. And no one bought it. No one had ever heard of it. I didn't know how to do a Kickstarter yet or any sort of crowdfunding. I made it, funded it myself with an artist that I met through Fiverr, of all places. Monica Aldrin, amazing artist, go hire her. And Kuen Tang, an amazing letterer, also hire her. And I, did all of that stuff and then didn't know what to do with it. So we threw it up on Comixology, and that's where it lives. Is that and Amazon, right? Or only Amazon because they got rid of Comixology. And it feels like I haven't gone anywhere. But when I look at it in like the timeline, I'm like, oh man, I've done some cool stuff. I've definitely worked my way up, which is really neat. Comic Talk, have you watched Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man? I haven't yet. I was a little bit turned off by some of the comments from the person playing Peter, and I got over it, and I was like, that's not the whole series, and they know they do some really cool stuff on there. But I had paused, watching it basically, and then Invincible came out, and then I got sick, and I've just been really, really busy. But I plan on trying to marathon it Sunday if I can. I'm going to Great Lakes Comic Con on Saturday, and then I'm on a podcast that afternoon. that I'll plug. I don't think it's going to be live, so I'll plug it when it's going to come out. So I'm just a little bit busy, but it's on the docket. I really want to watch it. You know, I'm a giant Spider-Man fan, so I gotta watch it. And I've heard some really, really cool stuff about the animation, about just the stuff they did for their version of the world. And I'm just really excited about it. And I feel a little silly that I wasn't at first. Just like I let something like turn me off to it, which is fair, I think. But I've come around, but now I don't have the time to watch it. I have too many chats going all at once for this. I'm answering the stream from Facebook and the one from YouTube. Um, Bug Boy, what's going on? Doing my daily heart me. Oh, thank you so much, dude. I really appreciate you. And thanks for sharing your scripts with me. I've had a lot of fun reading them. You're next on the docket. I just helped Irrepressible Comics with some of their stuff. So that Nerdy Papa Bear, Rod from over there, worked my way through their scripts. Now I have your notes to send over to you. Working my way through all of my consultation stuff. Just want you to know I haven't forgotten about you. How's everybody doing today? I'm still trying to recover. I'm a little bit tired, a little bit more tired than I want to be. I wish I was feeling just a little bit better after this long from not being sick anymore, I guess, I thought. But like always, there's just not enough uh, coffee in the world, you know? And finally getting back to working on some more scripts, like that's part of like working on all of the marketing stuff really slows everything down. And I mean, I have fun doing it. I love coming on here. I love talking to everybody who can. But man, do I just want to write comic books. And sometimes I feel like I get a little annoyed, and I know I have to do it, and I know I enjoy doing it when I get on here and I talk to people and I make videos and stuff. But I just want to write sometimes, and sometimes it really slows it down. And I got to work on Tokyo Fire again today, which has been really cool because I've been away from it. I've been working on Hellion and Bash, and when we got the go ahead basically to do issue 2, right away when we signed with the publisher, and they were like, we want issue 2 as fast as possible. So we shipped issue 1, first of the year, and we needed to get right into issue 2. So we were working on that over the holidays. It's been a long time since I worked on Tokyo Fire. We did issue 1 last year. Just kind of put it up on Zoop, and kind of it was our debut, but we didn't have the money, time, or funding, to just do issue 2 right away. And getting back to that world, writing issue 2 and 3 and 4, and just sending it down the pipeline has been wild. DMW in the YouTube chat says, this last flu hit me and my fam's hard, long lasting. Yeah, man, I'm really sorry to hear that. It's the same thing that happened over here. We got hit with like 3 different ones that felt like no one had the same symptoms. My wife had like an upper respiratory thing, so it was a lot of coughing and hard to breathe. And then me and my daughter were, sick over the toilet kind of thing. It was a whole thing. I don't want to get into it because I know that's gross, but it was just wild. And you know what is really crazy? My son, completely fine. Not a single symptom. You know what his symptom was? He was so bored and lonely, and he was just annoyed that we were all sick and couldn't hang out with him. So much so he had stole my cell phone. He was just calling all of our relatives, just bored, going, hey, you want to talk? My my son is 7, and he was just like, "Hey," like he called my mom, his grandma, and was like, "Hey, let's just chat for a little while, Nana. I'm just bored." And I felt so bad because I'm like, I can't entertain him. I couldn't do anything with him. They had a few days off of school because of weather and President's Day and stuff, and the household was sick and everyone was quiet. And then, as we got back to it, and like they were back in school today, but in the evenings, I've been trying to still make time for them, but I got to catch up on work. I got to advertise the Kickstarter, and there are marketing deals and promises to people, so I have to advertise their Kickstarters, and I have to reach out to people who have sponsorship deals for it and make sure the ads are doing okay, and stuff that is like time sensitive that I can't just like put off. Um, Ever is the problem of being a father as well as, a full time worker. And Anthony, too, if you didn't see it, I did post my Discord for you in our other chat. If you wanted to hit me up on there, and I can bring you on or show off some of the links, because we have some cool projects going on with everybody, and I would love to share mine, but along let's share everybody else's. And speaking of mine, if anyone is interested, um, go ahead and check out the link in my bio. Hellion and Bash issue number 2 live on Kickstarter right now. And don't worry, I know what you're saying, dear listener, is you've never read issue 1. That's okay. You can pick up both on the Kickstarter and get fully caught up, and dive into my brand new superhero world. All right, that's a link for us. Let's check that one out. Let me see if I can bring that up. And if anybody doesn't know, my name's T.S. and I write comics. Like Hellion and Bash, like growing up. Hellion and Bash is the one that's running through there right now. I write Tokyo Fire and the upcoming The Digger from Invader Comics that is going live around September from Invader Comics, which is going to be really cool. I'm super excited about that one. That was my first big publishing deal. And people haven't even read it yet. That's how weird the comic book industry is sometimes. Is you'll start making deals and stuff, and and other deals will happen before the original one. Like I got hired to do the Digger. Like we licensed that one to Invader Comics because of the success of Tokyo Fire, and then we did Hellion and Bash because we had built up enough of a rapport to do that while we were waiting for the Digger. And Hellion and Bash did so well that they pushed the Digger up, and we were going to do all 4 issues. That deal was so exciting that another publisher heard about it and liked what we were doing and funded Hellion and Bash issue 2. So it's this weird like infinity symbol that keeps wrapping around, and it's been a really good time, really wild, and to the point where now I'm like, I have to check a calendar to know when I'm doing things, when books are coming out, which is just not a place I ever thought I'd be. DMW Comics in the YouTube chat says I posted the free issues and the Kickstarter link in the Facebook chat. Perfect. I'll bring it up right now, and we can show off some other people's comics, because people are tired of hearing me talk about Hellion and Bash issue number 2. That's live on Kickstarter right now. You can check the link in my bio. People are tired of hearing about that, so let's talk about somebody else's indie comic book while we can. And let me see if I can post the links in there. Let me know, chat, if you see this link popping up. I know other people can't post them in my chat, but I might be able to. So go ahead and let me know if you can see that on any of the places I'm streaming. Wherever you're watching it, comment and see if you can see it. I don't think I can share it in the TikTok one. I think it's too long of a link. Of course it is. It's always something, isn't it? Let me see. If I can do a short link. I'm not going to be able to post it in the TikTok link. Dang it. But I think I posted it in the YouTube chat, so if you can see that, and I'll bring it up, and I can share my screen, and we can look at it that way. Let's see if I can do that. There we go. Let's check out Bad Wabbit. So we got 2 free issues up, number 1 and number 2, Friends and When Pigs Fly, by Anthony Castro. And I don't know Philbrook and Guns. I don't know their first names, but go check this out. I love the covers. Those look so cool. Let me stop sharing my screen real quick to make sure these are safe for work. But I can share that one. That'll totally work. Bad Wabbit looks really rad. Okay. Alright, people should go check this out, but I'm going to go and toss the Kickstarter link up so people can check that out for themselves. Now that I got it all figured out. See it. Yo, K-Pop Junkie, how you doing, dude? Thank you so much for having me on the other night. When are we going to do that Digimon stream, or did I sleep through it? Did it already happen? Did I miss everything? Did all the Digimon goodness already happen? I appreciate that, K-Pop. You're the best. And I had an awesome time talking about hot dogs. And also, I'm going to Great Lakes Comic-Con this weekend. If you're going to be there, I will see you there. I was just mentioning that in my chat. Well, I want to be there still if it happens. So you keep me notified. I want to be there. I want to hang out. I want to talk about Digimon and hot dogs again. As well as the strange weather we had. We had full whiteout conditions this morning in Michigan, so I was trying to drive my kids to school. And of course, as soon as I got home, it's clear as day. Sunny, actually. Beautiful day out. Where was that when I was driving on the roads? It was awful. DMW says, if you like Die Hard, Mad Max, and basically grew up with 80s action movies, you will like Bad Wabbit. I gotta agree. I'm really liking what I'm checking out here. I'm gonna bring that up real quick. See if everyone can see that. Yeah, Bad Wabbit issues 1 through 4 launching soon on Kickstarter, and I will I'll share that link as well in the TikTok chat. But go check this out. Available on Kickstarter. Do we know when it's going to launch, Anthony? Anytime soon? Is it happening now? I need to launch it in the next 5 minutes. I need these details. Yay, but I'll see how I'm feeling. I shoveled and salted, and now it's nice. That's exactly how it goes, I swear. I go full Midwest dad anytime there's inclement weather, but I just get tired of how inconsistent it is. But that's my fault for living in Michigan. That's just what happens, man. I never wanted to be one of those guys. I never wanted to get old and gray and talk about the weather, and then here I am, and I do it every single day. But I also write comic books, and that's the part that keeps me young. It doesn't help my knees at all, but it helps me feel young on the inside. But not, like, where my heart is, because that's oversized because of all the hot dogs I eat. But yeah, go check out Bad Wabbit. Notify me on launch. Click that button. Alright, that helps people. Don't steal my password. Don't look at my Facebook, either. I gotta stop sharing my screen when I try to log into stuff. Launching March 10ish. All right. Keep an eye out for that. And while you're keeping an eye out, when you go there to click on that launch button, the notify me on launch button, go check out Hellion and Bash number 2, which is live on Kickstarter right now for another 29-ish days, I believe. I should know. It's my Kickstarter. 28 days left. There's 28 days that you can go and check it out. That's fair. Don't laugh at me, okay? I'm carrying all this chaotic energy from when I was streaming with you. Honestly, before I streamed with you, K-pop, I was so much more buttoned up, and I was so professional all the time. And since then, I've caught that bug, and now I'm one of the fartists. All right, there we go. Do you even know your kick, bro? I don't. Okay, I'm so thrown off of when I was sick. I'm so lost. Trying to get back into like the swing of like streaming and stuff like that, and like I didn't even get started till like 4 o'clock today. But I try to stream every day to answer questions about writing comic books or getting publishers, which is always like big questions. It's like, how do you find a publisher? How do you publish stuff yourself? If you have any questions like that about how to write a comic book, publish a book, anything like that, or if you have questions about Hellion and Bash Issue 1, Issue 2, any of the future issues, I'd love to talk about it. So go ahead and drop those comments, whether you're streaming on YouTube or TikTok or wherever the hell else I clicked the button to restream to. It's the hot dog life. It happens. It really does bog you down. Dude, I thought it was Friday. Listen, that is how it goes. If my kids don't tell me to take them to school in the morning, they wouldn't have to go. Like, they're such honest kids and they don't lie to me, which is awesome. I have the coolest kids in the whole world, but they easily could. Like, I just took their word for it. They didn't have school on Monday. They could have been making that up. They probably had school on Monday, and they didn't get a note from me saying that they were allowed to miss. But we had a good day until everyone got sick. But if my kids don't tell me it's time to go to school, you know, we just hang out. That's how I know what day of the week it is when we don't have to take them anymore. I'm like, oh, it's Saturday now. This is cool. And I have that con to go to on Saturday. I was trying to get tickets, and I'm on another podcast on Saturday, and I'm trying to keep it all straight and try to remember it. Because I'm trying to plug the book wherever I can, wherever anyone will have me to let me yap, which is awesome. But I get to go on cool shows like K-Pop Junkie, Kicking It with K-Pop. Go check it out on YouTube. But I get to go on cool shows like that, and I feel bad because it's not that I'm not excited, and it's not that I haven't done my research. I'm just so tired all the time these days that it looks like I'm apathetic, and I promise I'm not. I'm super stoked. I'm just tired. I'm just an old man. Back to Hellion and Bash, which I could do more about. Oh, dude, thank you so much. Every little bit helps. It doesn't matter what you support at. And if you can't afford to support, do not feel bad. Share it with a friend if you really want to help out and you can't, do so financially. Or maybe it's not your bag. Go ahead and tell a friend who likes superhero comics. But that means the world, DMW. Thank you so much, dude. Anthony Castro, go check out Bad Wabbit. I got to return the favor, and I can't because yours isn't launched yet, but I will definitely check it out. Thank you so much. But never feel bad. If you got $1, that goes a long way. You got $2, oh my god, thank you so much. Every dollar helps. Thanks again, man. But I see that sometimes when people are like, oh, I can't tip for tat, right? Like, you backed mine for $5, I can only back yours for $4, or vice versa. The same $20 bill has been passed around to every single indie comic book creator that I know. Every little bit helps. If you can't back financially, that's okay. I can't back everyone's financially, and I'll go a step further. I won't back everyone financially because I can't. If I could, I totally would. But I will share every single one that I can, as long as it's not something awful. I will tell people about it because we got to do what we can. But we all need to eat and pay our bills first, right? Survival first. So never feel bad if you can't back. But if you like any of the words that I say, you like the beard, you like the cut of my jib, and you can't back it financially, that's okay. Tell a friend, tell a neighbor, tell that weird dude at the comic book shop. Their name's usually K-Pop Junkie. They're usually in a hood, creeping around in the back. Make sure you tell them about Hellion and Bash. You'll have fun at Great Lakes. Lots of homies are there. Oh, heck yeah. I'm going to go. I'm really excited. I'm really nervous. I'm not tabling at this one. I'm just walking around. Hopefully, some people that I know have a table to let me sit down and throw some comic books at people. But mostly, I'm probably going to be that weird guy who's just handing out my comic book to people, going, hey, do you want a copy? I like your stuff. So that's what I'm going to do. Oh man, the struggle is real. I would love I would love to back every book, but I just cannot. There's just not enough money in the world. We don't have it, and it's not reasonable to ask that of all the creators too, right? That's not fair to do. And I sometimes that happens, right? I get reached out to people going, "Hey, can we go one for one? You back my book, I'll back your book." Sometimes I can do that. And sometimes I have to be honest and be like, listen, I just don't have it. I don't have $5 right now. You know, like I'm a dad, you know, I have to pay for this apartment. I have to feed those kids every day they eat, you know? So I just don't always have it. But I will gladly always talk about other people's projects and share them out. I've done almost 200 of these streams and there's no way. Oh man, no, you could never. When you start hosting a show, you know, and like you're having people on, like you there's no way you could back every single one. That's just, it's impossible. I'm building an empire with the change for my couch cushions. Listen, sometimes that's enough. My son does that. All the change in our house belongs to him. If you find a quarter on the floor, like he's gonna tax it, right? It's all his. And I'm like, but how much could he find, right? I don't really even use cash anymore. And the other day we were going to lunch, and I was like, well, we can stop at this place, but not that place. That place is a little bit more expensive. And he said, how expensive? I think he wanted McDonald's, and I was gonna take us to the hot dog stand. Because the hot dog stand, $2. McDonald's, you're looking at 10. And he was like, I can do it. And he really could. He had the cash. And I was like, you know what? Ben gets McDonald's because he's got the cash. Like, that's all good. You could have McDonald's. Luckily, my daughter didn't want McDonald's. I'm like, I don't have the money for McDonald's, but Ben did. So me and my daughter, we got hot dogs. He got a Happy Meal. So like, I'm proud of him. So sometimes you can do that if you drop enough change. I just don't have the wherewithal to hunt for it anymore. Straight up factoids. All the people will be there. If it's not, it will 100% get you a Happy Meal, and sometimes that's all you need. Exactly, right? Sometimes that's all you need. And I specifically, the reason why he wanted a Happy Meal the other day, because normally he's happy just getting chicken nuggets, but there was a dragon-type Pokemon promo pack. Was the thing that he was like repeating to me, you know, in his trance that he does when he gets excited about Pokemon cards. And so he had to get one, and he was determined. And I listen, I appreciate the hustle. Now I want hot dogs. This happens every time. And being from Michigan, and K-Pop can attest, and we've talked about this a million times, is just like, that's just on the food group. My doctor has told me specifically that I need to limit my hot dog intake. And you just... in what world, Doc? You know, like, who's gonna do that? In this economy, I don't think so. Also, they're so cheap. You can feed a family of 4 on hot dogs. I got all the Poke Packs. I'm more of a Digimon guy. I like the Pokemon games, but I was never a big Pokemon card player. But my son loves it, so I've learned sense and taught him how to play. And he loves collecting both. He likes Pokemon and Digimon. But he is so... into the Pokemon packs in a way that I should have saw coming. I love Magic the Gathering, I love Digimon, I love opening packs. I knew he would fall in love with it. But he's so determined, and he's so good at collecting them, and I've never seen him take something so seriously as when there's like a new promo pack available somewhere. He's got like a spreadsheet, and he keeps track of it, and he's like, Dad, we must go at this date and time. You know, you give your number to that person, you drive around the alleyway, they'll give you the Fat Pack bundle. I'm like, okay, I'll do this for you. Because he's the coolest little 7-year-old on the planet. DNW. Go get a hot dog. And go check out K-Pop Junkie Show. The VOD of us talking about hot dogs, I hear, is legendary with all 17 people that watched it. And I appreciate all 17 of them. I will say a little bit of buyer's remorse. I was told I would go on there and I would raise tens of thousands of dollars for my Kickstarters, and you know, I don't think it happened. I don't think that you did. So your audience was holding out on me a little bit. There was no $10,000 drop, but so many of them did check it out, and I really appreciated it. All jokes aside, you have a really, really cool community that are big fans of you, dude, and they were very, very supportive of the Kickstarter. So thank you so much for having me on. And this is all my brown noser way of saying, please have me on again. I would love to come on and talk about Pokemon cards and hot dogs and Hellion and Bash #2. Yeah, Pokemon Day is around the corner, and they are doing things at Best Buy and GameStop. Exactly, he has told me. I have heard about it, and I know they're doing the Pokemon Presents. You know, Nintendo is doing their stream, and he loves the video games, but he's not. He doesn't have the same news necessarily. And I mentioned it to him, and now he set the alarm clock, and he's like, "We're gonna be up at 6 a.m. or whatever when they stream it," and he's super pumped. I got you 50 hot dog sponsors. Yeah, like no one backed the comic book, but so many people sent me vouchers to get hot dogs that I'll be able to eat for a year, which is rad. And I'll take it. You know, like you take what you can get, and I appreciate it. Oh man, is this my life now? Do I just talk about hot dogs instead of my comic books? Because I could talk about hot dogs all day, but I would also love for people to check out Hellion and Bash issue number 1 and issue number 2, which is live on Kickstarter right now. The link is in my bio. Or you can just go to that Google thing and type in Hellion and Bash issue 2 Kickstarter. It'll take you right there, I promise. I think it's also at Professional Entropy's website, which is just Professional Entropy. You know, you can do that. That's cute. To be fair, you weren't live yet. I think we eventually talked about it when it was live. No, that's right. We talked about it the day before it was live. I remember now. Time is a flat circle. That was my mistake. You offered to push it until it was live. I was like, no, it's fine. People will go click the notify me button. And they just don't do that. That's just not a thing that people are really excited to do. Even the people that have clicked the notify me button, there was like 52 pre-saves or something like that. Most of them haven't backed the project yet. That's just not a process that's super streamlined when it comes to people. If they're excited about it, they'll check it out later on, and they're way more excited about it when they can hear about it and then go click the buy button right away. And I respect that, and I've learned my mistake, and I will never go on another show to plug it before it's live. You should do a whole podcast called Hot Dog Life, where you talk about different hot dogs from different regions. I would love to do that. And I'm launching a new podcast called We Make Comic Books. It's going to be on my Patreon, which I don't plug on here at all. But I might have to do like little hot dog asides. Mostly what I'm going to be doing is talking to my other indie comic book friends and giving tips and tricks on the stuff that we've learned on making comic books and doing so in the indie sphere, and how some of us have found success and how we haven't found success, like what works, what doesn't. And I guess we could also just talk about hot dogs, because I know I could do that all day. I did it on, was it Sunday? We did it on Sunday for like 2 hours. And then sometimes I think we talked about, comic books occasionally, but mostly hot dogs. I gotta now. That's true. It's legally binding. Hellion and Bash looks fantastic. Dude, thank you so much. That means a ton from a fellow creator. Like, it means a lot. Thank you so much, K-Pops. Same to you. It means a ton that people actually like it. And, obviously, no credit for the aesthetic. That is all Marcus Pedro, my amazing artist. A hugely talented artist working out of Brazil. He had been killing it in the indie comic sphere down there in all the Portuguese language comic books on an app called Funktune that not a lot of people used here in the States, but it's kind of like the Brazilian version of like Webtoon or Tapas. And he had been doing so many amazing indie books, and I happened to find his art portfolio on ArtStation, and he had some amazing Marvel fan arts. He has one specifically, he did an amazing pinup of Nova. And I was like, this dude's killing it. Why isn't he working in comic books here already? So I reached out, and he was really, really kind, and he was like, just no one has asked him to. And I was like, well, I'm asking right now. And we talked about different projects we could work on, and I pitched him Hellion and Bash, and I had been working on a pitch packet for it for a while, and he really, really dug it, and we haven't looked back. And now he designs, like 20 different superheroes for me a week, mostly just so I can see more of his amazing artwork. And if you back at any of the higher tiers, almost all of the money for Hellion and Bash goes to Marcus and getting him more work and his amazing designs. So even if you don't like me and you're like, this dude and his beard is annoying, this keeps Marcus Pedro employed to do more comic books. We have an amazing letterer named Michael Stock, an amazing letterer who's worked on a million different books, including my other books like Tokyo Fire. He's so good. He did the letters for issue number 2. Fish Lee, my buddy Fish, did the letters for issue 1 as well, and he'll probably do more stuff on the book as we go forward because I'm always working with Fish. But Mostly me and Professional Entropy don't really make money off the book. Most of where the Kickstarter funds go to is like getting the book printed and funding the next issue. So if you see anything cool on there, you like it, you want to tell a friend about it, all that extra stuff that goes to keeping my team employed and keeping money in their pockets. I know that sometimes you see Kickstarters and you think people are money hungry, or you think that I'm getting rich off of it, and that's just not really how it works. I couldn't raise that much money if I wanted to. But we're mostly on a break-even model here. Okay, got a jet. See you Saturday. Casper's Comic Book Corner. I can't wait, dude. I'm so excited. After I pop over to Great Lakes Comic Con, I'll be over on that podcast. Thank you so much, dude. You would be shocked by the why people back campaigns. I had Jeff on, and he got like 4 backers because he was a Knicks fan. Man, okay, so I need to come back on and plug while it's live at some point. I know you're busy, you got a million different things, but maybe I should do that. But I've had people back me for some strange stuff. That's why I always joke, like, oh, back me because you like my beard or whatever. But I've had people, like, back my other campaigns because they're like, you just seem like a nice guy. And I'm like, oh, cool, do you like comics? And they're like, not even a little bit. And I'm like, okay, well, that's fine. You got 2 on the way. And I'll take it, no judgment. The cool thing about indie comics that I see a lot, and I was so surprised on the first issue, was a lot of people backed Hellion and Bash, and it's their first indie comic, but it's also their first comic book, period. They weren't into comic books, and they like superhero stuff, but you try to jump into Spider-Man, and there's thousands of issues, and there's different series, and you want to check out X-Men, but which book do you pick up? And the cool thing about indie books, just by their virtue of being expensive to make for us, because we do it ourselves, is that we don't have a lot of issues. So you can jump into things like Hellion and Bash, or my buddy Fish's Green Zone, which is on issue number 4, live on Kickstarter as well. Go check that out. But there's 4 issues of that book. There's 2 issues of Hellion and Bash. Even something like Ace Blade, which has been killing it in the indie sphere. There's maybe, 12, 13 of those. There's not hundreds of issues, so it's really easy to jump on. And they were really digging it, and they liked it. And they're like, oh, I might check out other superhero stuff. But their gateway was indie comics that they saw here on TikTok or on YouTube. And that's wild to me. But everyone's comic is somebody's first comic, right? Exactly. It's why indies and manga do well. There's a small amount of volume available, right? It's so easy to jump into, right? You don't have to pick up 4 different series. There's no tie-ins. If you buy Hellion and Bash number 2, you know what you missed out on? Hellion and Bash number 1. And you can get both at the link in my bio. You don't have to go hunt them down in a store and find the floppy. You can get both copies. And it's the same thing with manga, right? Like, well, I don't know where to jump in to My Hero Academia. How about volume 1? And it's available right there. It was just, it's so cool when you think about comics like that. And that was the reason why I jumped into Invincible back in the day. I was at a comic book shop. I think I was buying a copy of Deadpool and that week's Spider-Man were like the 2 things I was picking up. And I said, I was big into like superhero comics when I was little. They weren't available to me in my region. I mostly read Archie, and I would love to get more into them now that there's a comic book shop available to me. And I was like, where should I go from here? I want to pick this up, but what do you recommend? And they're like, definitely get all of that, but you should check this out. And it was Kirkman's Invincible. And I also got a copy of Haunt that day, I believe, too. And I never looked back. Fell in love with it. And for the most part, not a lot of tie-ins. 144 issues straight through. There's a few tie-in books, and you can read all of Astounding Wolfman. But for the most part, you can read Invincible straight through and understand everything that's happening. You don't have to go back and read Patriot or something. Although you should. It's fun. But like, you can just do that. And there's a big draw for that. When people are going to check out Invincible on Amazon, that's a lot of it. Is they don't have to watch the other 39 movies in the MCU to understand what's happening in Invincible. He's got to catch up on seasons 1 and 2. Catch-up tiers are the best. I hope so. I have a lot of catch-up tiers in my Kickstarter. So if you haven't read any of my other stuff, I have a T.S. Luther catch-up bundle. I have my digital library if you just want to read it on your phone. Or my physical catch-up tier, we get Hellion and Bash issues 1 and 2, Growing Up, Tokyo Fire, all the stuff that I've published so far, either myself or in conjunction with Professional Entropy. So if you want to catch up, if you want a bunch of new number 1s, go check out my catch-up tiers. It is in the link in my bio. Tomonomicon, how you doing, dude? That nerdy Papa Bear. I feel like it's been so long since I talked to you, Rod. I really miss you, man. I really wish we could catch up. Yo, we talking Invincible? We are talking Invincible. The best tie-in was the crossover with Spider-Man. And also, obviously, it didn't make it over to DC, but the crossover with Batman, same thing. You get to see that Batarang fly through. That's all you get to see. But I agree. I love that crossover. Tamanamakan, yo, how you doing, dude? Um, it was really cool at the time because I mean, Kirkman was writing Spider-Man. That was how that like whole thing happened. But it's so crazy to see like how everything went down with Marvel. Like, it'll never happen again. You know, you'll never see that happen. And so when you see like Agent Spider pop up in the series, you're like, oh wow, this is so weird how this all ended up happening and surviving. You know how many lawyers passes and whatnot. Huh. You caught that too, and I'll stop checking. Don't. I love you. Don't go. uh, and I was just talking about, you know, going through your packet. I was working on your packet that you had sent me. I was working on Bug Boys, who also sent me some stuff to read. I have a few more things to read for Mr. Fish Comics and a few others. Just like not being sick anymore, trying to catch up on all of the things that people send me. Because I mean it. If you have a comic book and you just want an opinion on something, if you're not looking for a ton of extra work, if you just want a second pair of eyes or an opinion on something, I can do that. You know, you don't need to pay me. I'm not a full editor for you. I'll give you an opinion. I'll see if I can help out. I can make some recommendations. I'm not an expert by any means. I can only talk to my successes, which are few and far between. But I will gladly tell you anything that I do know. And I don't mind doing that. It might take a while for me to get to you because a lot of people send me their indie comics, which is awesome. But again, it just takes a minute. So as long as you're patient, I will gladly read anything that you send me. Does that issue still get reprinted, or is it in some kind of Spider-Man team-up limbo? I guarantee it's in some sort of limbo. I'm going to bring up Marvel Unlimited right now, though, and see if I can find the issue with Invincible. Because I am very, very curious of that myself, where that all shakes out. Obviously, because Kirkman owned the rights, you know, it doesn't go anywhere else. If he did sign a contract, he could have easily said in perpetuity, this issue can be printed. And knowing Marvel, that was probably somewhere in there that it had to be like that. But how petty did everything get involved? I don't know if it would pop up. It's Marvel Team Up number 14. Man, why do you know that? That's so rad that you know that. I've never been that guy. I can tell you, like, arcs, where, like, I know it popped up in this arc and the name of that arc or whatever, or I have that, you know, trade paperback. But I've never been that guy to be like, it happened in Teen Titans, number 342, on page 4. I just don't have that kind of memory. That's so cool. I know you're also a big Invincible and Spider-Man fan, so there's probably a reason why you remember that specific one, but that's so rad. Unless you break my heart and I find out that you just Googled it before you typed it in the chat, which is totally fair. I have a Marvel team up from that era, actually, which is kind of funny. The one with the Human Torch. It might have been the whole Fantastic Four, but I think it was just the Human Torch. It's kind of a funny story about that one. I'm going to go find it. I still don't know to this day who did it, but I was living with my wife for the first time. We were renting a house. And we were home from, like, we were on some sort of spring break from college. We were renting this house out. And there was a comic book sticking out of our mailbox with an upside-down smiley face. And it was that Marvel team-up with the Human Torch. And I've never found out who put it in my mailbox. It's a great issue. I love Marvel team-up. But I'll never know who put that there. No one's ever fessed up to it. It was creepy, but also great. Some people are wild with the deets. He will never tell. It's true. It's true. It's my brand of tism. Any of the quirky specific issues. Same with Savage Dragon, Howard the Duck. That's really cool though, dude. Which issue of Invincible is like? No, I want to quiz you. I'm not trying to quiz you, but I was thinking of like Savage Dragon crossing over. I know he's crossed over several times, but the first one I remember is the Funeral. Did he ever cross over before the Funeral, or was that still early on in the Invincible run that's where he first shows up? Because there's several Image crossovers in that run, right? Like we have like the Spawn stuff showing up in the Invincible War, obviously Astounding Wolfman and Tech Jacket and Patriot and whatnot. But I always think back to seeing Savage Dragon at the Funeral, and I was like, oh wow, I never expected this to have a shared universe. And it kind of like caught me off guard. Marvel Team Up 14. Let's see if I can find it. was it the 2004 to 2006 run, or the 2001 to 2002 run? Which Marvel team up volume was it? First crossover was actually Savage Dragon 102. That was Invincible's first appearance ever, actually. Oh, that's so cool. I don't know if I'm sure I've read it because I've read every Savage Dragon issue, but I don't know if I remembered that being his first one. That's so cool. God, I wish I had that kind of encyclopedic memory. It's one of those things where I don't dread it necessarily. Please hire me to work for any company. I'm down. I love writing comic books, and I'm a tool. I'll write whatever you need me to. But it's one of those things where I have this like stress dream that I get hired by Marvel or DC, and they go, okay, you're taking over this character. And it's a character I either haven't heard of or I know very little about. Like, you're going to write Dreamwalker tomorrow. And I'm like, oh, God. And I have to go and find out this character, and I got to do it. Or I'm in a pitch meeting, and they're like, that's really cool, but could you write us a Gold Ball story? It's one of those things, and I have to know on the spot, and what I know about them is, like, the color of their costume. And I know that's not how it works, and a lot of people don't know a character until they're assigned to write it, and they do their research, and then they become a fan of that character, and I will totally be that guy. But it is a thing that haunts me, is that I'm going to finally catch my big break, and I'll fumble the bag because I don't know enough about that character. Or at least before my adolescent brain decided it was too much. That's fair. It was rough reading Invincible when I was younger. It was definitely a tough one. You're a little bit older than me, so you're probably reading it a little bit before I was, but still crazy. Which did you find the answer, Rod? Though, which Marvel team up volume it was? Like which years is how they separate it on the Unlimited app. It wasn't the 2004 to 2006 run, it seems. Or 2001 to 2002 run. That was the one I was looking at. And for anybody else joining, my name's T.S. and I write comics like Hellion and Bash Issue 1 and Issue 2 that's live on Kickstarter right now. Check the link in my bio. If you have questions about writing comics, questions about publishing comics, or getting a publisher for your comics, please hit me with them. Or if you just want to talk about comic books, last time I was streaming, I got a lot of questions about writing Batman. I can tell you some things I won't tell you because I hope to one day write some of these things, so I won't give you a full pitch on some books, but I'm happy to talk comic books in general, or hot dogs, or Invincible, like me and Rod have been talking about. Would have to be the 04 to 06, I think. Alright, well, you're the expert. Let's go and check it out. It is available on Marvel Unlimited. Invincible is on the cover right there. Can I show this? Can you see that? Not very well, it seems. He's there. Right on my app. Invincible launched in 03-ish, because I was in middle school. I don't want to age you too bad, Rod, but in 03, I would have been, 10? So I probably shouldn't have been reading Invincible either. I did read it pretty early on. Right around there, I had also stopped. I got a copy at some point when I was trying to get a copy of whatever Ultimate Spider-Man that was coming out that month. And then I had returned to it later on when I was in high school and fell in love with it. I know, I'm an old man. You are. You're the only person I know that makes me feel young. I have so much gray hair that I notice from when I was sick. Because I always wear the hat, but I wasn't wearing the hat when I was sick. And I looked down and I was like, oh God, there's like a cobweb that has covered my head. That's cool. I think that shows how respected Kirkman is. It's really true. And I know that some people have issues with him at like businessman standpoint or whatever, but I've always really appreciated so much about Kirkman, and I love his writing. I love pretty much every book he's ever put out. I don't have a lot of issues with many of them, and I've learned so much about creating comic books from him. I owe so much of what I do with comic books to what I learned from reading Kirkman books. right down to how I open up books. The first note that I had for you as I was reading some of your stuff was like, you need more splash pages earlier on. And I remember learning that from Kirkman, who learned it from like Eric Larson on Savage Dragon, you know? And I loved Invincible growing up. I loved all of his stuff that he did at Marvel and Haunt, and even like currently, like still killing it, right? Like I love Oblivion Song and Firepower, and obviously Void Rivals, and everything he's done with Skybound has been so cool. I would love to work for Skybound one day. Probably won't happen, but when it comes to dreams that I don't talk about very often, I would love to work with Skybound. Any of their licenses, any of their books, I sell them one of mine. Like, and I love just the stuff that he's curated over there. Like, I think like the first Skybound thing I read that wasn't his, you know, like Birthright, and I love Birthright. Splash pages are easier with higher page counts. That's the other thing. You need to get your page count up. One of the scripts you gave me was 16 pages. And I'm like, that's not even a full issue. Now, I understand, like, you're paying an artist, and sometimes you just can't afford to do it. But that was the first thing I noticed. I'm like, this is a little bit light. This is gonna be short. And I get that you have your own constraints, but I'm like, this could be a full issue. You had some really good stuff that you sent over that I didn't have to slog through. And sometimes I have to slog through them. And I really, really liked the scripts that you sent over, to the point where I was having a hard time telling you which one to pick, as you know, as we've talked a little bit offline. But gotta get that page count up, and sometimes you have to sacrifice some things that you can tell in the story to pull that reader in, because you always got to remember that we don't have a Marvel license. We are not names. When it comes to indie comic books, this is sometimes the first and only chance you get to convince someone to be a fan of yours, to get them to check out a book that you're trying to sell them. You're not Todd McFarlane. You are not Stan Lee. This is not Spider-Man. This is not Spawn. This is not a Kirkman book. No one has heard of Irrepressible Comics. No one has heard of T.S. Luther, or Professional Entropy, or Hellion and Bash. So you have to do what you can to draw them in. And that's something that those dudes did really, really well in the early days of Image, and they continue to do. And so many people have done a better even since. But one of the things that I learned from there is get as much art and as much amazing artwork as possible up front to draw those people in. And it works, you know. I've had a lot of people tell me that they love the action that happens in Tokyo Fire. That was one of the things that they noticed. It gets started right away and it never stops. And that was because I knew no one gave a crap who T.S. Luther was, or who Tib and Ren, these amazing thieves, you know, that I have set up in Tokyo Fire. But I'm like, well, if I hit them with as much cool looking noir, you know, cyberpunk action as I can, then maybe they'll buy into page 4 and they'll keep reading. But you got to hit them with a lot of it up front, in my opinion. And that's something that, again, I learned from Kirkman and Eric Larson. And so far, it's paid off for me. But I still stand by that. When you're going to pitch somebody a new book that they've never heard of and they don't know who you are, you got to hit them with those splash pages, because it really draws people in. Now, once you're established and everybody loves you and everyone's raved about you because you're James Tynion for years, then you can do, you know, 14 nine-panel layouts before you get to just a black title sequence, and do one splash page at the end of the book, and it's the first time any action has happened, and people will love it. I do too. I love so much about James Tynion, but I could not get away with doing that because people don't care about my books yet. Adding more splash pages to my book is something I'm working on. Definitely helps the page count, right? I mean, and that's sometimes I've had people send me stuff that they're like, I just don't know what to add and I want to pad it out a little bit. I'm like, well, you have this really cool sequence. You have this really cool, you know, moment. Why is it a 1-panel moment on a 4-panel page? Why not make that a splash? Because that moment can sing on its own, and it's not going to change everything in your layout. And then you have 2 more pieces that you can add similar to like that. People buy comic books sometimes for some of those splashes. And if you want to look at it cynically, a splash page is a great breakout that you can use later on. Your artist can use it as original art to sell. You can sell it as a poster or a pinup or anything like that when it comes to your Kickstarter. You can use it as an advertising piece. Great for trailers, great for, you know, news, press releases. Like, it's worth doing for some of those cynical reasons, but it makes that reader excited, and it helps with the pace. You don't want to slow them down too much up front at the beginning of your scripts. You want to keep that pace going because you want to get them so deep into it that even if they do have a moment of boredom, which hopefully they don't, even if they do, well, I'm already 10 pages in. How many pages does it have left? You know, once they're already deep into it, the further a person gets into a book, the less likely they are to put it down prematurely. So a splash page can do a lot when it comes to your reader and the pacing that they have, and keeping them entertained. Not to go full psychology on you when it comes to how I write comic books, but I try to hit them with a splash page at least by page 2. And I try to do another one around page 10 or so if I can, just to make sure they're still excited. And obviously, I don't write with a formula on every single issue all the way through, but in general, those are something I try to keep in mind. Like, okay, it's been a while since I've had some big piece of artwork. If it doesn't fit for the story, it doesn't fit for the story. I don't put it in there. But I like to try to fit something in there to entertain the reader and to show off some of the amazing artists I get to work with, and sometimes it's for the artist purely, where I'm like, I know you're bored. I know I just had you do a classic 9-panel grid of people just having a conversation on the phone, and I know that's boring to draw. You drew the same character holding a phone in different ways, like I'm Tom King and this is Omega Man, and you're bored. So on page 12, double page spread with only one character doing one thing, so you don't have a full crowd to draw or anything like that. You have a really cool dragon there and one piece of action. Go hog wild. And it's just, there's a lot that you need to think of as you're going through the book for you, for your reader, and for the artist that you're working with. And I know sometimes you're like, but I don't want to. And that's okay. At the end of the day, you're the expert, you are the boss on your book, but it is something that I would recommend. And I don't know if anyone who makes comic books was here for that entire rant. You might have tuned in and tuned out, but those are my 2 cents. Attempting the double page panel layout like in Something is Killing the Children. I would love to. I would love to do something like that. I just don't know. I got to have a good reason for it, and you got to have an artist who understands what you're going for with that. And again, there are some things that you see something like Kirkman do. I always think of like the micro panels on Outcast. I've always loved that, and I would love to do more of those. Or the double page continuous layouts that's paneled for a double page spread that like Tiny does often. So does Tom King too in some of his stuff. But I don't know if I have the type of story to make people. It's not a rule necessarily, but to make people bear with me through something more experimental. Tokyo Fire, the most experimental thing is like Sky Hawkins' art style, right? It's a very manga-inspired art style, meets like 90s cartoons. It's a very intentional thing. It's the reason why we teamed up together. But we're already jumping through that. The most experimental thing that we do is we do a lot of like the manga chibi heads as like talking heads along with their speech bubbles. So whenever we have somebody speaking and there's other action happening, we have the chibi head pop up with like the text next to them. And that's the closest thing I've gotten to, I think, fully experimenting with stuff, just because I don't think I have the clout to pull off some of those more experimental things yet. Hopefully I'll get there, but I don't want to push the envelope so hard that a new reader goes, what the hell is happening here? And then they leave. I want to do what's right for the story and what's right for the people that are just kind of getting into it. And I want to show off some of this stuff, but I can't because it's on my WhatsApp. But I just got designs from Marcus Pedro for more issue 2 pages, and they're looking so good. Again, one of my favorite things about working with any artist, like one of the reasons why I don't illustrate everything myself, is there is something so addicting to getting pages in from people, whether it's concept art or designs or actual pages, colors, black and whites, letters. When you see them finish something that you started with your script, obviously there's that teamwork, there's that camaraderie, but it's nothing short of magic. That's the only way I can describe it, is it's magical. And it's something so cool. And I like what I write. I think that it's good. I wouldn't give it to somebody else if I didn't think it was good. But they make it 1,000 times better with their artwork. And it's so cool to get pages like that. I honestly couldn't stop making comic books if I wanted to, because I'm addicted to getting pages in. Oh, and I know it's been a minute, so, every hour on the hour I have to mention. My name is T.S. and I write comics. It's right there. And the one that you're looking at right now is Hellion and Bash issue number 2. And it is live on Kickstarter right now for the next 28 days, okay? The link is in the bio. If you like superhero comics like Invincible, or maybe you've seen the show, if you like superhero comics that aren't Marvel or DC, you should check out Hellion and Bash. The whole idea is who protects the sidekick? Oh, the sidekick? From the superhero. When the superheroes don't step up to save this kid, the supervillains have to. And you have the world's greatest thief going on the run with the world's greatest sidekick to protect him from these superheroes. And they have to go on the run from the entire superhero community. And it's a really fun book. It all starts in the shadow of a kaiju attack when the world's greatest thief, Bash, uses that as his opportunity to rob the city blind. And from there, he discovers some really sinister secrets. And he's got to step up and save this kid. And I've had a blast writing it. The first issue did so well, it got funded in like an hour, that I got a publisher for issue 2 onward. So now it's an ongoing series, so you don't have to worry about going, well, there's issue 1 and 2, but how long until issue 3? Like, soon. Like, we're working on issue 3 right now because we just get to keep putting them out because we have a publisher now. So if any of that sounds cool, please go and check out Hellion and Bash. And if it doesn't sound cool to you, that's okay. Tell a friend, tell a neighbor, tell that weird guy at your comic book shop about Hellion and Bash. And I help a lot of other people with their comic books. I write other stuff. I publish my own comic books sometimes. So if you have questions about writing comic books, finding a publisher, publishing your own stuff, creating comic books in general, please go ahead and hit me up in any of the chats that you're watching. I'd love to answer questions about it or just talk comic books in general. I know I talked about Invincible for like an hour, so you know I can definitely rant. I have a few more minutes on here, and then I got to get back to work. Love that you've been streaming so much, man. Thank you so much, Andrew. And I love you for hooking me up with going to so many cons. I'm going to Great Lakes Comic Con this weekend. I don't know if you're going to that one, but thanks, man. And I appreciate it. I'm just trying to stay consistent with the streaming. And even if only a few people stop by, and some awesome people definitely stop through. Obviously, no one can stay for the entire time. But it helps me get the word out there for my books. Helps me get used to coming out of my shell, so I'm not so nervous when I go to these Comic Cons and stuff like that. And it helps me talk to more people and just get used to networking and meeting fans and meeting people who make stuff, right? Like, I can't sit here in my cave all the time, even though I want to, and it's much easier on my anxiety. Just back to, oh, thank you so much, man. Thank you. I really appreciate that. That means a ton. I'm not crying, you're crying. Let's bring it up. There's just something in both of my eyes. It was at 36. It'll go back. It changes. But right now, what it says is we're at 35 backers with 1,000. Nope, there's the 36. $1,131 out of a $3,000 goal with 28 days left to go, which is awesome. Over that 33% mark, so we're already a third of the way funded, and we're not even a full 3 days into the campaign. Thank you so much for everyone who backed, including you, Andrew. You're the best. I really hope you enjoy it. Issue 1 is available too. I know people see the issue 2 and they get scared because I'm a dummy and didn't put issues 1 and 2. But you can catch up on the full run. You can pick up issue 1 as well. We have lots of cool digital tiers and perks, so you can mix and match and find exactly what works right for you. All of my comic books are $5, whether it's physical or digital. So if you want to mix and match, we keep them cheap. We get to be competitive because we have an awesome publisher called Professional Entropy. We are their flagship title with Hellion and Bash. They're also publishing Tokyo Fire later this year. They're a brand new company, and their whole motto is why make money when we can make comic books. So we're on a pretty close to break-even model. And when we say pretty close, it's not because we want a lot more profit. It's because we're working on breaking even. That's not always a guarantee. But that's what we try to do. We try to make enough money to make the next issue. So if you like anything that we're saying, please tell a friend about Hellion and Bash issue number 2 and Professional Entropy. I love working with these guys, and I'm so thankful for them. And it's all thanks to people like Andrew and people like you who have checked it out and shared it. And the first issue was literally funded in under an hour. And because of that story, I was able to get some people on board to get publishing going. And again, that's thanks to awesome people like you. So thank you so much. Again, not crying because I'm a big manly man who doesn't do that on stream. It's because I'm allergic to people's kindness. That's what happened. You're the best, man. Thank you. These are some of the tiers that we can scroll through. And if anybody has any questions about creating stuff, if you have questions about Kickstarters or crowdfunding in general, I will gladly answer any and all of them that I can to the best of my ability. I did get a question yesterday, right as I was getting ready to log off, about like the extra ones because that aren't included in tiers. I have a producer thing, so if you want to back at the producer level, that just gets your name in the credits next to mine on that front page, because that extra cash goes a long way to help, and you become a producer at that point. You have helped make the book happen. And then the other two tiers that we have that aren't included, or rewards that aren't included in the tiers, are the ad tier. Those are limited. And they're not for late backers. You got to get them in pretty early if you want to do that. If you want to get your product or your comic book advertised in there, you know, we've sold hundreds of copies of issue 1, and we will continue to sell them forever. So at least the first printing, which we usually print about 1,000 copies, so potentially 1,000 people could see your ad. Check that out. And then the cameo tier, which we have limited a little bit because so many people bought it the first time around, which is awesome. But we had so many original characters added to the book because so many people backed the cameo level, that we had to make it just an add-on that you can do, and we had to limit them so we could get the book out on time, because issue 2 is taking a lot longer than we thought originally, which is still almost done. That's the reason why the Kickstarter is going now, but we would have had it done completely already, but we had all of these cameos that people purchased, so we had to do a lot more design work and make sure that your character gets seen. You know, you paid for a cameo, we want you to pop up in the book. We want it to look like what you want it to look like, whether it's your original character or it's yourself, you know, your likeness, which we had a mix and match of all of those. So we had to make sure that it looked cool and fit with the story, and it took a while because so many people purchased it. So we limited it a little bit. I think that I think we have like 10 open this time. There's way more than 10 in issue 2. So if you want cameo in issue 3, which is guaranteed to happen now that we have a publisher, and it's an ongoing series, which means they're going to keep making Hellion and Bash as long as you're buying Hellion and Bash, which is really cool. I've been asked several times, like, how many issues do we have? Like, so far, we're contracted for at least 5. So if people keep buying them, we'll keep going. That's straight from the publisher. So I would love to keep making this book, and it means a ton that people have bought it so far. So if you want to hear me keep yapping, go and check it out. Oh man, okay. I'm getting a lot of questions from the different chats. I'm sorry to be laughing at the stream. But I think I'm gonna wrap this up here. Thank you so much for coming and hanging out. If anybody wants to ask any last minute questions about comic books in general, writing comic books, getting your comic books published, publishing your own comic books, please hit me up. I would love to talk about them. I do a lot of consulting. If you want me any help on any of your projects, I will gladly do that. But please do not hesitate to reach out. I love talking about comic books. I love talking about mine. I love talking about yours. And I love talking about comic books in general. We talked about Nauver on Invincible earlier. The other day when I streamed, I got a lot of questions about Batman. I started talking about Batman. I also got some weird questions about Dog Welder the other day, which is really fun. And I got to explain to my wife who Dog Welder was, which is not a thing that I had done recently. She reads a lot of comic books, but she doesn't read a ton of superhero comic books. And when she does, it's more mainstream superheroes. Like, she reads a lot of Wonder Woman, and she's reading a lot of like Batman and Teen Titans stuff. She's not picking up a lot of Dog Welder books. So getting to explain that to her because of the chat was really, really cool. So always feel free to drop a random esoteric character that I can tell my wife about later on. Like, I think we talked about Dreamwalker earlier, so I think, is that her name? Is it Dreamwalker? So maybe I'll do a little dissertation on Dreamwalker with my wife later. Is it Sleepwalker? That's what it is. Sleepwalker, I believe, is the character I'm thinking of. I can't keep him track. Yep, Sleepwalker. I apologize. Yeah. Yeah, maybe I'll explain to my wife who Sleepwalker is. All right, everybody. Thank you so much for hanging out. I'm going to bounce here. Oh, I got another person in there. Rod, do you want me to answer your question here, or do you or do you want me to message you? Because I could do it, but I don't want to put you on blast on live if you're like, no, I need this assistance offline. But I'll answer you wherever you want to get answered. Wherever comic books are sold. What time is it, dude? Oh man. Nah, just because it involves pain and mutual. Let's keep that on Discord. You got it, boss. I'm like, just in case if you're like, no, I wanted to chat about it. That happens sometimes where I'm like, okay, like I'll email you. They're like, no, I thought we could talk about it on live. That was something working with Lucky 33 when I sold a script to them called The Face, which is a book that you need to bully them and make them publish. I love those dudes. Only joking about the bully part, but bother them and get them to publish The Face. But when we were getting ready to work with the artist, Artie Murphy, amazing artist, he did the 184 days straight of doing Marvel characters. Go get that pinup if you can. But when we were talking about getting the project off the ground, they're like, "Do we want to do it live on TikTok?" And I was like, "Well, do we want to do it live? The book's not made. Like, we're gonna be talking about, payments, and we're gonna be talking about project and concept." They're like, "Yeah, no, we do all that on TikTok." And I'm like, "That's so cool. I'm definitely down to do that." So I always offer that now, but I will gladly message you offline. And I think with that, I'm gonna head out. Thanks for hanging out. Anybody who did, whether you're on YouTube or TikTok or wherever the hell else I sent the stream, you're all rock, and thank you so much for backing the project so far. I'll do one last check-in real quick to see where we're sitting. Let's see. Oh my goodness, we are sitting at 37 backers right now. Let me refresh the page. 37 backers with $1,147 out of a $3,000 goal with 28 days to go. You're all amazing. Thank you so much. I'm definitely not going to go cry about how happy I am about this. Not at all. This is all super nonchalant. I'm not so grateful that you make this job possible. You're all the best. And I can't even pretend like I don't love you. You're the best. I love you. Thank you so much for doing this and for helping me out. I'm going to go hang out and talk to Irrepressible Comics for a little bit, and then I'm going to go make dinner because I'm still a dad. Thanks, everybody. My name's T.S.